back to another album review. So today we are doing Lady Gaga's Harlequin album, which came out last year. It is not the soundtrack to Joker 2. No. That is a separate album, actually. This is the companion piece album to Joker 2. What is the difference? There is one, I swear to you, there is one. A, not everything here was in the movie. B, these actually are performed better than what was in the movie, because for the movie, for the character of Harlequin, she basically had to unlearn how to sing so it would feel more authentic to the character. Whereas this feels more like her typical style, at least like what she did on the albums she did with Tony Bennett. This is much more akin to that, so I'm very, very interested in this one. So we'll do this the way I do all my album reviews, track by track. So starting off, we have a cover of Good Morning. Trust me, you all know this song. If there's a person alive who doesn't, I'd be shocked. But whether you know it from Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney movies, whether you know it from Singing in the Rain, whether you know it just from being in the American Songbook lexicon, you know it from somewhere. But I really like what she did with it here, because she made it almost sound like a 1940s nightclub act. Like, I could practically see this being like Kay Thompson at Ciro's or something. It very much had that vibe, like it had male backup singers. You could almost like envision this whole scene in front of you. So I really, really appreciate how she approached this one. I thought it was really cool. So second track on here. I mean, you know damn well, even on paper, that I was going to love this. Hell, most of the songs on here, you knew on paper I was going to love just for what they are. It's practically like Lady Gaga went down the list of my other fandoms and was like, gotcha. So, second one in is Get Happy, which, one of Judy Garland's biggest songs she ever did. So, of course, I'm sitting here like, on paper, should love it. First time listening to it, really was not sure how I felt about it. Second time listening to it, started warming up to it. By the third listen, I was like, okay, I'm on board now. I had to get over myself with it's not Judy's version, nor is she trying to do Judy's version. She is making it her own. And when I say making it her own, I don't just mean stylistically. No. They added whole verses that were not in the original to this. So, again, initially I had some qualms about that and did not know how exactly I felt about it. Because originally I was like, this is sacrilege. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And I know she's another fellow fan, so I know that she also has a great deal of respect for Judy Garland. But, like I said, took a little bit for me to warm up to it, but once I did, okay, alright, I will meet it where it's at. The initial intro is very slow and not at all on par with the original, so that was like qualm number one I had with it right there initially. Although, even though I've warmed up to it, I still don't know how I feel about that intro. But then once it gets into it, it's like, alright, we're back to like 1940s nightclub style. Okay, alright, here for that. But then at the point where she starts adding verses, I'm like, some of them feel like they could have been omitted from the original, maybe were part of it. Others, I'm like, this doesn't quite fit the vibe of the song, really. But, I mean, I see why they did it. And I commend her for making it her own and not just doing a copy-paste. It is what it is. But that said, I don't know. I'm of mixed minds about it, even though I've warmed up to it. And I feel like I do like it at this point, but I have some conflicting feelings there. But nobody can fault her for not making it her own, because she very much did. And she didn't even follow it note for note of how it typically would go. Like, it follows it closely enough to where you can still tell that this is the same song. But, I mean, she did her own thing with it. So, again, maybe after more time passes still and more listens, I'll get to where I warm up to it more. Right now, I'm still kind of tepid. But, I mean, it's not like the first time she's done something Judy. I mean, let us not forget, she was in, like, the fourth remake of A Star is Born, so, or fourth version, not fourth remake. Third remake, fourth version of the movie. So, it is what it is. But But just knowing she's coming from a place of respect, it makes it easier for me to make peace with her making the changes that she did to it. And it's not a disrespectful thing. It's just something to wrap my head around when I've only known this song one way my entire life since I was a tiny little kid, since let us not forget, Judy Garland is the only fandom for me musically that goes back as far as the Beatles, to where it's like, early as I can consciously remember, I was already fangirling over Judy, so I have a lot of strong feelings about whenever anyone touches Judy's stuff, you know? But knowing she is a fellow fan and knowing that she is doing it respectfully makes it a little less bitter of a pill to swallow knowing that she changed it. But anyway. So the third track in is a cover of Oh When the Saints, which I wasn't sure on paper how I would feel about that, because I was like, is this going to be like real corny or something? But no, actually it's not. She went like a very bluesy kind of a route, a little bit soul, but more so blues in my opinion. That felt very akin to, I would place it maybe like late 60s, early 70s, like that kind of a vibe in there. So very different from the first couple tracks, different era, different times, but I actually like this a lot more than I thought I would. And this is another one where I think she added verses, unless if maybe I'm just unaware that those verses were in fact there before and I'm just not used to hearing them. But no, this one was actually pretty cool. So the next track in is a really interesting cover of World on a String by Frank Sinatra. I don't know how to describe this one genuinely. I like it, but the song, the approach, it evokes more of a vibe and like a visual image than actually being able to like really articulate in words what this sounds like, but I like it. It initially sounds almost like a little bit like surfer rock, at least with the guitar anyway, but then it quickly morphs and it like turns into this topsy-turvy, kind of trippy, I'm not sure if psychedelic is the word I'm looking for here, but it basically, the only way I know how to word it is it kind of feels like a musical depiction of a drug-fueled haze, almost like falling through a lava lamp as you are listening to it. I know that's oddly specific, like falling through a lava lamp in the intro of a James Bond movie. Does that make any kind of sense to anyone outside my head? Probably not, but that's what this song's style sounds like to me. But I do like it. It's just very interesting, very different take, and I'm surprised at just how at a loss I am for being able to articulate what it sounds like. So the next cover in is one of If My Friends Could See Me Now, and initially with the start of it, it was very slow to start, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this one. But then it picks up, and then it's much more traditionally what you would think of with this particular song, like a big band and everything, and sounding like something you'd find on a stage. That's more like it. So with that in mind, I like that part of the song. I'm not super into the earliest part of it, but I like what it turns into by the end, if that's any kind of anything. So the next track in might actually be my favorite one on here, and it's a cover of That's Entertainment, which I suppose I can tie back to Judy Garland again, but lots of people have covered that song, not just her. But, this one, it is very true to the old Hollywood style and everything. Again, this feels like it was something that could have easily fit on one of the Tony Bennett albums that Gaga did. So I'm quite happy with that. I really have no complaints about this track at all. It's very strong, especially even like held up to the others that have been on there so far. Very, very, very strong. So the next track in is a cover of Smile. You know, the old Charlie Chaplin song, but this also, yet another one, I can tie back to Judy, and actually the style she does this in, I think, is taking a page from her playbook, actually. So I don't feel amiss in saying that, and just tying everything back to how I want it to be. But this one, I mean, very nicely done, very faithful to the original source material. There is a little hint towards the very, very end of the song that's almost like that surf guitar again, but almost like it's trickling downward. It's like, again, with that slightly druggy haze, slightly like tumbling through water kind of a feel, but it's not through the whole song this time. It's just that little ending bit. But I do find it interesting that it ties them together that way. So the next track in is just called The Joker, which honestly I was not familiar with this to begin with. So I had to Google, is this original for this album, or did it exist? And given it was written by Tony Newley and Leslie Bricusse, I am assuming this was an already existing song, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think either of them are still around, are they? If they are, they gotta be really up there in years. But regardless, it's kind of like in between a James Bond song and a rock song. It's really cool. I was surprised that, was not the Joker that I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like Steve Miller's Joker, but I guess that wouldn't really fit the vibe here, but it's pretty cool though. So at least this next one in is in fact an actual original song. It's not me just not knowing it. So I think, God, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. Folie à deux? I think that's how you pronounce it. AKA like the title of Joker 2. So this one, she very much captured the whole style of just like the classic Hollywood ballads that are like cinematic in movies and things. It sounds like halfway between that and Paul McCartney's Frog Song. I said what I said. So, I mean, this one's fine. I mean, it's pleasant. It fits the vibe of what it needs to. In terms of my own vibe on it, I'm like, it's okay. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate what she did there. I respect the songwriting quality in it. But this one's just okay for me. So the next track in is Gonna Build a Mountain, which I know because of the Monkees. Their live 1967 album had their cover of that on there. But I do realize it's not originally theirs either. Theirs is just the one that I'm familiar with. So I think the approach that Gaga took is more aligned with the original song from my understanding of it. Because she kind of went kind of like a gospel, kind of Baptist kind of a route, if that makes sense of like what I'm trying to describe stylistically. Like, this is actually the style I would have expected for When the Saints Come Marching In, but it is what it is. But I mean, this one I'm like, it's okay. I prefer the Monkees though. The next track in is a cover of The Carpenters' Close to You, and oh my god, this might be my second favorite on this album. So it takes the song a bit more up-pace, up-tempo than the original, which is fine, and actually for this I feel like it works. But in doing so, it almost creates a secondary, also 70s trope along with it in terms of the style of how this sounds. Because it's almost like Close to You as done by the Brady Bunch, or something like that. So there's that, and it does evoke very much a very whimsical, kind of fluffy 70s vibe about it. Like, you can almost see them, like, dancing in the clouds or something. Again, the very vivid imagery that I get with this. For me, it adds to it in a way that I think it's more evocative when it can just so easily pull such vivid images without even being stuff in the lyrics or anything like that. So I very much commend what she did here. So the second last track on the album is called Happy Mistake, and this is the other original track that was written for the movie and for the album. So this one, I feel this one also, like the other, does fit like the whole cinematic universe type of a vibe, except this one feels a little more modern than the other, and it kind of evokes like a falling through space, flying kind of a vibe as you listen to it. It's much more modern pop. I would have half expected Billie Eilish to write a song like this. Like, it feels like a Billie song to me, to be honest with you. But it very much works for Gaga. I'm not saying anything against her that way. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what it sounds like to my ear, could absolutely have seen her doing it just as easy. But yeah, so I mean, it's a good song. I feel like it's better for what it's trying to be, I think, than the other one was. Although, which one anyone likes better is honestly just up to personal taste, I think. And then finally, the last track on the album is a cover of Frank Sinatra's That's Life. And this one is actually done fairly faithfully to the original, right down to the keyboard throughout it and everything. I think they may have even used the same type, because it sounds like it to me. So, obviously, she, like, punched up the singing a bit. Frank's version is a lot smoother, whereas hers, like, every line, she is punching those lines, which isn't a bad thing. And towards the end of it, she's, like, really singing the absolute ever-loving shit out of that song. I mean, it's great. I love this to death as well. So, I mean, it's a really good version of it, honestly. So, overall, this is not a bad album. And I feel like everybody just kind of lumped it in with the movie itself, which is unfair to do because it's not really that. I know it got a lot of unfair hate, the movie, I mean. So, kind of makes sense that this would get dismissed easily in light of that, even though it's not the soundtrack album. There is a soundtrack album, but this isn't it. So, I think people are missing out on this one. They should really, really give it a shot. And even if you don't necessarily warm up to all the tracks right away, come back to it a couple times and revisit it, because you might find your feelings on it change. So I think for me, I'm going to rate this one, I think, an 8 out of 10. And I know those are strong words, but I genuinely think this was actually a really good album. And I mean, I'm not that surprised, since given the type of songs on here, it's not that far a throw from the ones she did with Tony Bennett, which were like my favorite Gaga things ever, because I'm predictable, but those are just my thoughts. So anyway, I am very much looking forward to the new album that's coming out next month. And, of course, I'll review that once it's out. But anyway, for now, that's going to be it. So, as usual, you know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my eBay, my Reddits, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. Get your name on the end card for a month from the time of donating. Anyway, guys, till next time, see ya.